and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven,
My name is Jerry.
and it's a bye week.
I know.
It's a bye week, and
And going in
we're
and on a two game winning streak too. It's
two-game
nice.
winning streak. We get the bye week. That's nice, actually. I mean, as crappy as the season started out, and as bad as last season was, to kind of get the bye week after winning two in a row
Bryce,
is a pretty nice feeling, right?
yeah, Bryce Young looking halfway decent. Like, yeah, it's a great feeling.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about. We're just going to kind of go over the season so far. What we like, what we don't like. Give out some awards. For the midway point here. Kind of look at the last half of the season, and along the way, I'm sure we'll talk about 1,000 different things. But before we get started with all that,
Yes.
people have been asking us for a while, how can they support the show? Like, we don't have a Patreon, we don't ask for anything, right? But we do occasionally send out some t-shirts and stuff like that, but we never really ask for anything for them. Well, if you want to support the show, Jerry has come up with a excellent idea.
Yeah, we went ahead and opened up a basic, design your own shirts and stuff, and people could come and buy them. I tried to drop the price. They were outrageous, to be honest with you, at first. Like $30 a shirt. I was like, nah, that's not us. But we do have t-shirts, they have sweatshirts, they have stickers, and a bunch of other things. Now, if you're on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, you've seen the Carolina Reaper of Bryce Young. That was actually originally us who came up with that.
That's a MeowMix original.
Yeah.
It's been stolen a lot. That's a MeowMix original. Of course, we didn't put any sort of
Trademark.
watermark on it. Didn't think about it, but yeah. So if you've seen the hooded, black-faced, or kind of like not even black, there's nothing there, but Grim Reaper wearing a Bryce Young jersey, that's ours.
Yeah. That was our little design. Well, we put it on a t-shirt, called it Carolina Reaper, and you can get it at the shop as well. It is MeowMix dash A dash Carolina Panthers dash P dot MySpace. I'm just gonna attach it to the.
We'll put the link. The link.
Oh my god, that is long.
The link will be in the podcast notes, and the link will be on the YouTube description. So plenty of places to get the link. I will not ask Jerry to read that out again.
That is
It's
awful.
a lot of dashes. Yeah. When you get one of these design your own shirt stores, you're kind of limited with your URL, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe we could link it to our website too and just kind of do something there. But yeah, so check that out, guys. The shirt is really cool that Jerry put together, the Carolina Reaper shirt, which is a really cool nickname if Bryce works out.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a great nickname for him.
Yeah, and originally the idea started where we played the Saints and Dennis Allen got fired, so Jerry was like, it's kind of like the Grim Reaper. He's like, Steven, see if you can make a Grim Reaper Bryce Young picture. So we sent a few over. We liked that one, tweeted it out. The rest is history. But yeah, we saw a few folks saying, hey, like Carolina Reaper, oh, that's a cool nickname. And yeah, that if Bryce needs to work out specifically so the Carolina Reaper nickname.
Oh, exactly. And it worked last week too. I mean, it sounds like Daniel Jones is getting benched.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's next? Mahomes?
The perfect season. No. I like Mahomes too much.
Yeah, the perfect season. Oh yeah, I hope the Chiefs win this week so we can knock out their perfect season.
Oh, if they win, if that happens, it doesn't matter how the rest of his career goes. He will be the Carolina Reaper in my eyes.
The Carolina Reaper. Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about the Panthers this season. 3-7.
Mm-hmm.
Started off 1-7. Have won 2 in a row. Have looked better. Bryce Young gets benched after week 2. Andy Dalton comes in, wins that Raiders game, then proceeds to lose every other game he starts, and progressively looking worse.
Yeah.
I think. Bryce comes back a few weeks ago. Uh, looks, not great against the Broncos, but not terrible.
Yeah, he didn't look as afraid. Like he didn't.
Right. We
T-
we saw some differences.
yeah, enough
Yeah.
that you wanted to see a little bit more.
Yeah. Still some bad throws. I think a couple interceptions in that game. Um, but then he comes back the next week against the Saints and we win. And he has a game-winning drive.
Yeah.
And then last week in Germany, we win that one. Again, I guess you could technically call it a game-winning drive, although it was the defense that won
Oh
that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
But it's going to count as I don't know if it'll count as a game-winning drive or not for Bryce, but either way, it's a win. And another game where Bryce, he certainly looks better than he did the first 2 weeks.
Yes, he looks
I
like a
don't think
competent quarterback
yeah,
right now.
I don't think there's anyone that can dispute that. Right? There's plenty of things to look at with Bryce, and if you're not a Bryce fan, that you can look at and feel completely justified in your opinion. But for those of us who are rooting hard for Bryce, because we want to have a franchise quarterback,
And
right?
already have him on the roster instead of having to
He's already
draft him.
here. Yeah, I mean he's got some good skills that if developed properly could be real assets in the NFL. For those of us that are rooting hard for Bryce, there are things that can give you some hope, right? That
Yeah.
you've seen the last couple of weeks.
Uh,
You know,
yeah. Go ahead. I'll let you finish up.
so
Sorry.
but yeah, I mean, so I think that's kind of the big story of the first half of the season, right? Is the Bryce Young saga, from starter to benched to now starter again. And it seems like it's going to stick. There's a report out today basically saying that it's expected within the organization that Bryce Young will start against the Chiefs on the 24th. So
I mean,
looks like he will get another chance.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think you almost have to give him another chance. I mean,
I agree. I think you have to, but I read something on ESPN that David Newton put out there that the great David Newton that that he said that they were thinking about playing Andy Dalton because he very well could be the starter all of next year as well. And next year they want to compete. So if they don't think Bryce is the guy, to me this is what that says. If they don't think Bryce is the guy, they don't really like any quarterbacks coming out in the draft this next season. They may just want to roll with Andy Dalton, draft a wide receiver or a corner or Travis Hunter or who knows, an edge rusher in the first round, roll with Andy for a season and still try to compete. That's the speculation from David Newton. Now David Newton,
first of all, do we think this team with Andy Dalton will compete next year? Because I'm on the side that says no. I mean, that seems stupid. Continue to build.
I guess I'm of two minds about it, right? Because I don't particularly like any of the quarterbacks coming out.
Oh no,
this year.
I don't either. But I'm just saying, like, don't act like we're really gonna compete next year. That developing
just,
Bryce.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is if they're out on Bryce, then Andy seems like the most reasonable starter next season. I mean, he's already on the roster. He already knows the system. Again, he hasn't looked great, but he almost, I think that Bengals game was a little closer than the final score ended up being. But with the Bears, he got smoked. The Falcons, that wasn't close. The Commanders, that was a train wreck. But no, I agree with you. Like, I don't want Andy Dalton to start next year. I don't think that he's, capable of taking a team to the playoffs anymore.
Okay. Now, before we jump into that real quick, we are still talking about Bryce Young and his, play compared to the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
So on weeks 1 and 2, he had a PFF rating of, I think, 32 and 38.
Mm-hmm.
Then week 8, his next start, 54. Not good, but not as bad.
Improved. Improved.
Then he goes to week 9, 77. And week 10, 71. So
Okay.
it's a dramatic difference, as 71
Yeah.
in PFF rating is a very solid starter. That means
Yeah.
he's making the right decisions. He's, not messing up. He's not throwing errant throws. Things that go bad weren't his fault. And just,
Yep.
you could see it's getting better. Granted, last week was a little down from the week before, but that's fine. I didn't
Yep.
see a drop off visually watching him in the play.
Yeah, agreed. You know, there are still plays that he leaves out there, right? There are throws that a lot of quarterbacks make that he's not making, although a lot less, right? A whole lot less over the last couple of weeks. But there's still some things, right, with Bryce that the offense just isn't quite getting there yet. One of those things being third downs, right? They're a little better than um, over the last couple of weeks. I think they're like around, hang on, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, they're like around 40% over the last couple of weeks, which is okay. Not where you want to be, but okay. Certainly better than like the 2% or whatever it was the first couple of weeks. Um, so there's that. There's the footwork has looked a lot better
Yeah.
from Bryce. Him seemingly trusting his offensive line has been a lot better. And by the way, this offensive line not healthy, right?
No.
This is a very patched together offensive line that is playing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be the unit of the. I mean, I think it is, right? That's the unit of the year so far.
Oh, for this Panther roster?
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can't think of anything even close.
The ESPN has them ranked, I think, number 10th overall, and you know how most people overlook them. So if they're even
Yeah.
mentioned as one of the best, you know how good they're playing. And
Yeah.
I hats off to Dan Morgan and Canales for bringing in Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. That was their top priority this offseason, and it has paid dividends. This O-line looks completely different.
Yeah. They absolutely do. I mean, compared to last year, especially where Bryce was sacked, 65 times or something,
Yeah.
62 times, whatever it was. Um, he's hardly been touched.
Yeah.
I know he's only been out there for 5 games now, but I think he's only been sacked a handful of times. So he's just been. It's been better all around. Bryce is. It felt like in the beginning of the season he was still in last year mode,
Yes.
right? Where the offensive line was not protecting him, and he just didn't know what was happening. He gets to sit for a little bit. Big decision by Canales, right? Let's talk about Canales a little bit. He comes in. Bryce is the starter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you, if you're Canales, would you have done this differently and just had Andy start the season? I mean, knowing what we know now, obviously that's probably the way to go. But if you're Canales coming
I
in,
don't
you've got
know.
your rookie quarterback from last year who played terribly. Do you just give him the start week 1 because he had it last year?
I no. I don't necessarily think that, but maybe in practice he wasn't showing that. But once the bullet started flying is when
Yeah.
it appeared.
It's
And
all about being comfortable for Bryce, right?
yeah, that's what it felt like. And I think like after week 2 getting benched and then watching Andy do it after he just was in there may have really helped. I hate saying that as much as I hated those first 2 games, but maybe that oh crap, okay. Just breathe. Okay, I'm watching him. I'm doing this different. Okay.
Yeah. It's hard to say, right? Like I see that. I get that. Maybe he needed those couple of games and then needed to see Andy with the exact same team to understand, okay, I've got things that I need to fix about the way I play the game.
Yes.
versus had he sat and watched Andy for the first, 5 or 6 games of this season without having experienced that, would he think, yeah, that's an interesting thought experiment. I don't
But
know,
yeah, you can't do that. But like,
obviously you can never, yeah.
because as soon as he could have came back in, those bullets start flying, and he
Right.
regresses
Does
back immediately,
right,
like what
right.
I think happened to him in week 1.
He doesn't even get an opportunity, yeah. So I mean, I think so we're saying thumbs up on that decision. I
Yeah,
mean, it seems to have worked.
yeah. I don't know. I thought it was a weird decision at that time. I agreed 100% with it, but
Yeah.
it felt like, is this a Tepper move, or
Right.
and
Does
now,
this mean Bryce is done forever? Is he going to get traded? Like there was a lot of conversation about it.
yeah. So at that time it was like, but hey, it worked out. And if Canales saw that and called it, great. If Tepper called Canales, then still makes me worried, but it worked
That's
out.
great, right? So I think what we do is we just decide right here and now that it was Dave Canales' call and that Tepper had nothing to do with it.
Sure, I'll go with
All
that.
right. Good job. All right. So, what else, about Canales? You famously not a Canales believer at first, to put it
What?
mildly. Um, not a fan of the hire. Me, a little more open-minded, although I still thought, uh, and I will go to my grave thinking this, that someone like Mike Vrabel would have been a much better choice to bring into this specific team at this time. Um, but that being said, I understood the reason why Tepper went with Dave Canales. You get a young, offensive-minded guy, and if you hit on that, you're good for 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I understood why they went with that type of guy. I didn't know anything about Canales, really. I don't think most people didn't, right? Other than that was the offensive coordinator of Tampa. But even then, had you asked me at the end of last season who's the offensive coordinator for Tampa, I probably wouldn't have been able to tell you.
I mean, they didn't even have the great offense last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. I mean, Baker certainly turned his career around, but that was the biggest thing you could say. So, yeah, I mean, how are you feeling now? We know where you started. Where are you now?
I would say, if I was giving him a grade, I would probably say like C plus, B minus. And
Okay.
before 2 weeks ago, it would have probably been closer to a D. But
Okay.
I am now seeing improvements on both sides of the ball. Um, yes, I think defense, it was just getting Josie Jewell back, getting some other guys back. I think DJ
Mhm.
Wanham obviously boosted that team
Huge,
last week.
huge. Yep.
But I'm seeing offense progress. Like, I felt with Andy Dalton, it was great 1 week, and then it started slipping very quickly, and it looked back ugly, and it was like, what happened? And then with Bryce stepping back in, it felt like, oh, he has been working with Bryce, and it is showing. So, and that's why he was hired. So with that, that's why he goes back up to almost a B.
So I feel like there's a big difference between C plus and B minus. What's your final grade
C
for
plus.
middle of the season? Okay, C plus.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not 100% on board
No.
with the Canales experiment yet. Okay. I'm gonna go a little higher. I'm gonna go with that B minus. I think. I have been critical of some of the play calling,
Mm-hmm.
some of the clock management,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you do have to grade on a bit of a curve here for a couple of reasons. One, first time head coach, not a ton of experience as a coordinator. That it's going to take a little bit of time, right? Second, the injuries have been, especially on the defense, have just been debilitating is a kind word to say, right? They've been devastating.
Yeah.
Um, you're now starting to see some guys come back. And we saw how much of a difference it's made. I mean, the last 2 weeks, they're giving up, right around 20 points a game. If you look at the few weeks before that, I mean, it was up around 30 points a game. So the defense playing better is massive. The Bryce experiment, does seem to work. I get a little frustrated with the will he, won't he start stuff. But again, I think Canales legitimately doesn't know at the time when he's saying that. I think he legitimately wants to go look at tape and look at matchups and see if Bryce has been improving. I think Bryce is having to earn his spot here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think that is why. I think it's going to lean on Bryce's side right now, but for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, I agree. I think he's like, hey, you don't have a 100% job here as a
Yeah.
starter. You got to keep working at it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and that it takes some guts to treat a number one pick like that. Now, Bryce is a very humble guy, right?
yes.
Bryce is a very coachable guy. Bryce is not someone who's gonna, go off in the locker room, but you still have to answer to your owner. You still have to answer to your fans. You have to answer to your players, number one, and you got to answer to yourself. And you come in here and to make a decision like that, and I really do think it was probably his decision. For Tepper to come in 3 weeks into the season and make that big of a thing, like I wouldn't put it past him, but it makes so much sense from a coaching perspective. It does feel like it was his decision. But to do that and to now come back with Bryce and it's working out a lot better, you can tell that changes have been made. I think that moves him up into that B range. So, um, and I think he's got a lot of room to improve, and I think he wants to, right? I think he understands what he doesn't know.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, it has gone up for me in my eyes the way I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing how the season progresses. And that's all I hope. Really,
Yeah.
it continues to progress. I get clock management. The play calling, I get a little frustrated, but again, you're right. He's still learning that too.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll get there. Yeah, I nothing but happy things. Now, flipping on the other side of the ball, coaching staff though,
Mm-hmm.
Ijiro Evero has been under a lot of scrutiny lately with the worst
Yeah.
scoring defense in the league and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling about that? How have you thought he has done this season?
I feel the same about Evero today as I did at the end of last season. I think he's had to deal with the total gimping of his defense in the offseason. And then once the season starts, he loses key players
Mm-hmm.
immediately. You know, Shaq Thompson gone, Derek Brown gone, linchpins of your defense.
Josie Jewell gone. Like he was gone
Josie
for
Jewell gone for a while. DJ Wanham not there when the season started.
Dane Jackson.
Yeah, not there when the season started. And your defense is just going to be bad. We called out the lack of edge rusher talent when the season started, and it has been the death of this defense up to this point. They just can't put any pressure on the quarterback. That changed a little bit this past week with the return of DJ Wanham. So we'll see how that progresses. But yeah, I mean, the defense has been so bad you can't give him a good grade
No.
up to this point. But I'm gonna go like C, just a solid C, because I think he's had to deal with a ton. And now that some pieces are starting to come back, I hope that we can see an improvement in this defense.
Yeah, I did too. I know there's people calling for his head to roll. I
Mm-hmm.
hated that because I agreed with you. I felt like they cut off so much of his defense, losing to free agency and stuff. And then, like you said, they didn't stock the cupboards back up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Clowney and one of them were big signings. One of them wasn't here until last week. And
Yeah.
there was nobody else behind them.
Dane
Nobody.
Jackson was one of the big signings.
Yeah.
He was the starting corner. Gone.
And they pulled Mike Jackson trade because he was about to get waived. And
And he's
who's
played great.
yeah, I wouldn't say great, but he is
I think
admirably
okay. let's put into perspective, right?
Yes.
We got him for nothing, and he's come in and been a solid starter pretty much the
Yes.
whole season.
Yes. He has been a solid starter
Yeah.
this season. I'm actually pulling him up real quick.
Yeah, his PFF grades I think are not as good as you would want them to be,
He's
but
higher than JC Horn, as weird as that sounds, but okay.
is he? Yeah. Okay. Was he like around the 60s, high
He's
60s?
63. JC Horn's a
Okay.
47.
For the
Oh,
season?
oh, that was week 10. My bad. My fault.
Okay.
I was like, that sounds really
That's
low.
I don't that feels yeah. I think Horn's got to be in the 70s at least
67.4 in coverage, 70 overall.
for Mike Jackson.
JC Horn.
Oh, okay.
He
What about
hasn't
Mike
had
Jackson?
as great a season as, everybody else.
Well, but again, like he's playing behind no pass rush.
You know
You know?
what? That is a very valid point
And
that I
he
didn't think
has
about it.
shut down some pretty good top receivers when we've needed him to. So I think he's had a pretty good season, and he stayed healthy. Right, that's the biggest thing. So yeah. So what's your kind of grade for Evera?
I would say C minus.
Okay, so we're right around the same. And I would say no to him being fired at the end of the season. I hope that they bring everybody back from
You
the coaching
can't
staff.
you can't trot out practice squad guys to start on your defense and expect them to hang with NFL offenses.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, practice squad guys are them, but you need that elite talent. And our elite talent left via free agency and has been injured, and there's only been J.C. Horn. I mean, and Clowney. Who else is on the team that you would consider a linchpin? That's starting.
I mean, it's Xavier Woods, I would
Yeah.
say. But yeah, I mean, Ashawn has been really good. Trevin Wallace, rookie,
Yeah.
but he's filled in admirably. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, in terms of leaders, yeah, those are your guys. Yeah. So I mean, real quick, let's talk about Dan Morgan and kind of the moves that he made in the offseason. We're not going to go over all of them. We'll hit some of the major ones, but and then the moves he's made in season. When I think of the kind of the big moves for him, certainly the Brian Burns trade, the draft, free agent wise, the Josie Jewell signing.
Honestly, I have to say almost incomplete on most of the stuff. I can't fault him for the Brian Burge trades.
Yeah.
All
Right.
his
Not his
signings
fault.
ended up getting hurt, basically, except Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt, which were the two big splash ones, and he knocked those out of the park. We brought that up earlier. So
Yeah. Right. I didn't even mention those. Yeah. Those were obviously the big ones. But I mean, he's gotten some heat with the trades, especially, the Deontay Johnson trade, barely getting anything for him, then just kind of going away. A lot of heat for that, but since then we've heard some not so great things about the Deontay Johnson experience. So I think that puts that into perspective a little bit. The Mingo trade, everyone seems to be pretty happy with.
yeah, I still don't understand Dallas's thought on that, but okay.
Felt like a steal there.
I would have understood if they were like in contention and yet didn't have like a good third receiver or trying to hunt for another receiver or something like that. I just don't get it.
Yeah. No. One of the things I think was that he failed on, I think, was the initial Dante Jackson for Deontay Johnson trade. I think we lost. I think that we're the clear loser of that trade. Right?
Now, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dante has looked very good in Pittsburgh. Well, I see him all the time. Like he's among the leaders in interceptions. He looks healthy. So I feel like that was an L. We took an L there.
Yeah. They were going to release him for cap money, but
I know,
instead of
I don't think they should have.
I mean, no. I mean, I hate saying this, Mike Jackson, but yeah. And Dane Jackson again, I didn't understand that signing it when it happened, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
It was just really tough.
Yeah. It feels like you could have done something with Dante's contract, even extended him a couple of years or something. Like he's been pretty good. Like he's a solid number 2 corner.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but yeah, I'm gonna go like B for Dan Morgan so far. I think he's done a pretty good job for his very first season as a GM. I think he's done a pretty
I'll
good
give
job.
him a B. I'm more on the incomplete because most of
Yeah,
his signings were injured, but he really hit that Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt one so well that you're just the O line looks better even with other pieces bouncing around.
yeah, and I mean the draft as well. I think he did an excellent job in the draft from what we can tell. I mean, we
And
Leggett is an asset. He's our
yeah,
number 1 receiver right now, or co number 1. Brooks is about to come back. I think we're really going to see once he gets fully healthy how or why he was the number 2 draft pick. Trevin Wallace has started pretty much all season. He's been solid. Jatavion Sanders is starting to come on pretty strong. You know, I, I think he knocked it out of the park.
but we'll see. We'll see. I do think right now though,
Early returns. Early
I think
returns.
early returns are really nice. I think you got a starter in Leggett. I think you probably have a starter in Coker. Even though he wasn't drafted, he was brought in. I
Yep.
think
Yep.
JT Sanders is a starter.
Hmm.
I still have hope Trevin Wallace can blossom into that solid starter. Right now, I think he's still a backup that's forced into starting. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
Now, again, not saying that there weren't others,
oh,
that were draftable at the time that these guys were drafted that maybe we would rather have had, but I think he's gonna get production out of almost all of these guys.
yeah,
And then they traded Barrett for Mike Jackson.
yeah, that's true.
So that you could even count Mike Jackson in there as an asset that was obtained from the draft.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with some mid-season awards. I can't even believe I said review.
Mid-season rewards. All right.
And so let's go into our mid-season awards here. Let's start it off with some positives. MVP of the season. I think we all are going to agree on the same person here.
Yeah. Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, exactly.
Top 3 running back in the NFL. Got his big contract.
Had a
He's
career
he's
day next.
yeah, had a career day the next week. So he's not, he's not satisfied, right? He still wants more. Um, he's been fantastic. A surprise to me that he's been this good, right? I think I expected him to be around 1,000-yard guy, kind of what he was last year, and over the course of a season, kind of be that same guy.
See, I
But
saw this.
he's been borderline elite. He's been great.
I saw this last year though.
Yeah,
It just
you
some
did.
reason Miles Sanders kept getting the starts over him. I was like, why? He's not nearly as good. I mean, he
No, they're not even in the same. They're not playing the same game.
no, it's not. And I saw this. He averaged 5 yards per carry last season. It was
Yeah,
just that they didn't give him opportunity towards the end. So I'm happy
yeah.
for him, and I hope they keep. I hate saying, but he needs to be the workhorse back. I need him to get 25 touches a game.
Oh, certainly for the rest of this season. Right.
Yes.
Certainly for the rest of this season. Brooks, I'd like to see in that Miles Sanders role.
5 to 10
No more,
touches.
no more than 5 carries, ish, unless he's just destroying. But and then maybe a couple of catches or something. So yeah, 5 to 10 touches. Um, for several reasons, but mainly because Chuba is just so good. I
Yeah.
don't want him off the field. Every time he touches the ball, the pile moves forward. Every single time. Rarely does he ever get stuck or lose a yard.
Or
He's
gets
just so
arm tackled.
consistent. Yeah. He's strong. He's fast. He cuts extremely well. He's great.
He,
I was, I always hoped for Chuba, but never expected him to end up to be something like this. I thought he would always be a complimentary guy, a change of pace guy.
Mhm.
But no, he is a true 3-down back.
Yeah. again, I was on his hype train this offseason,
Yeah,
but I didn't expect him to be as good as he has been, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Like, I think I said 1,200 or 1,300 yards rushing or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But top three in the league,
Yeah.
I just didn't expect that, to be honest with you. He's,
He, he could easily run for 1,500 yards. Run for 1,500 yards,
yeah.
and probably still have another 3, 4, 500 receiving. Like he's been that good. Now, I do think they could use him more in the receiving game, but I think when he's had his opportunities, he's been great.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
yeah, Chuba
he's not
MVP.
6'7", but, Bryce has
No, he
got to learn
doesn't.
that.
Yeah, right, right.
That
Yeah, not everybody. I mean, Bryce should know a thing or two about that. You know.
Yeah, he aired that ball last week. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah,
still.
yeah. Well, Chuba tried. All right, so let's move on to the next award here, which is the LVP. Yeah, let's get the kind of the negative one out of the way.
Yeah, that's why I kind of want to do it that
Let's
way.
get the negative one out of the way.
I'm gonna go to someone we've already mentioned, Miles Sanders. You got that big paycheck, and every time you seem to touch the ball, it seems to be a negative. At least like past 5 weeks. It's just I don't get
Yeah.
it. Why are you still out there every third down?
I mean, that feels like the one. It's been so disappointing. The whole Miles Sanders experience, has just been a complete zero. He's not been good here. I think he does have talent. I don't understand what's going on. And why he's not been, so I don't know. I can't explain it.
I mean, Deuce Staley brought him over here. I mean, Deuce
Yeah.
Staley knows running backs. He knew him, so it was.
And I know that the Eagles offensive line was elite and that had a major factor in his, you know, success with Philadelphia, but you can see there's talent when he breaks one occasionally here or just watching those games back in Philadelphia. He has talent. It's just not working here.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
just not working here. But I'm going to go with a different guy. I'm going to go with Ian Thomas. Uh Complete and utter least valuable player on the team. It eats up, not a ton of money, but he's so overpaid. He's so overpaid. He gives you nothing. Okay. You know what? I'm going to give him a tiny bit of props. I did see him make a really good block last week. I don't know who it was on, but it was a very nice block. And if he did that every single time, then just convert him to an offensive lineman. But he doesn't need to be running out there pathways. He directly was the result of a interception a couple of weeks ago. He's just not a good player. Why is he on the team? Anytime he gets a target, it's one that Jatavion Sanders is not getting. So that's a net negative. Just get him out of here, please. I'm sure you're a nice guy, and I root for you anywhere else. I don't need to see it anymore.
all right. Now, going from one breakout player to another, who would be your breakout player? All honesty.
I mean, I kind of want to say Chuba. Honestly, I mean,
Go
I
for
think
it. There you go.
he's
That's your breakout.
I think he's broken out in a major, major way. Um, yeah, we've already talked about him.
Okay.
I,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
First,
Chuba.
First of all, that was completely not the route I was going, but when you said that, I was like, I could see where you got that. I was
Yeah,
going completely different. I was going Jalen Coker.
yeah. Well, yeah, good one.
Like, a guy I had no hope for, realistically. And then
Yeah,
the guy, he looks like a starter. Like, I know he is starting, but he looks like he could grow into a really solid number two guy. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. Uh, I don't want to leave out guys like, Brady Christensen
yeah.
and Cade Mays, who have stepped in to this
Shout,
offensive line and
we'll call this
performed
the shout out
excellent.
awards.
Yeah, yeah. They've stepped in and performed as well as the guys that they're replacing, if
Mike
not better.
Jackson,
Mike Jackson, 100%.
Jordan
Yeah,
Fuller. Like when he's in there,
yeah,
he's a difference maker out there.
yeah. So it's been a season of injuries, but then it's been a season of seeing people step up and
Mm-hmm.
take some spots and really give you. I have a lot of hope for the future. We have a lot of really good young players.
Yeah. Hopefully they continue to grow and stuff, and that's
Yeah.
maybe 2-3 years from now we can have a winning season.
I mean, it makes me feel good about the developmental aspect of this coaching staff,
Yeah.
right? Because they all of these guys look better than they did in previous seasons.
I mean, I feel like a majority of them have continued to look better throughout the season.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of someone who has regressed besides Andy Dalton.
Well, that's a big one. Um, yeah, I mean, Icky's gotten hurt, but I didn't see a lot of progression with him.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, other than that, everybody seems to be getting better and fixing mistakes, right? The coaching has been good,
Yeah.
and the being coached has been good.
Yeah. That coaching still needs to work on some penalty issues, but yeah, the
Yeah,
coaching
yeah,
has gotten a lot better. Like you do see talent getting better, and
yeah.
that's
I should say the development has been good,
yeah.
right? Yeah, coaching, good spots. All right, what's next?
Rookie sensation, and we have quite a few
Yeah,
opportunities this year. I just mentioned Jalen Coker.
yep,
I think he's second on the team with receiving yards.
yeah. If third, maybe. I think
1 second. I had
Deontay is
this.
probably number one up there.
Oh yeah, Deontay, and then yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, but he's coming on, right? He's only really played the last what 3 or 4 games.
correct. He's had only 26 targets to Legette's 45.
Hmm.
He has 263 yards and a touchdown. Meanwhile, Legette has 284 with 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
So, yeah. And then guess who's right
yeah,
behind him, minus 10 yards? Jatavion Sanders with 32 targets. So,
and
26
that's
reception.
my rookie sensation.
Yeah, I knew
Uh,
that was going to be yours.
yeah, I mean, I've been wanting a good pass receiving tight end since Greg Olson left. A guy that can get you those tough yards, but he even has the more game breaking aspect than Greg Olson did. Right? He's got that. He's got big size, a good catch radius. I'm so thankful. We've got one, right? And you can see it helping Bryce. I mean, you
Yeah.
can see what a guy like that can do. So that's my rookie sensation.
Yeah. I mean, we should get you a jersey of Jatavion Sanders. Or
Yeah.
or have someone donated Ian Thomas one for you, something like that.
Oh no. No. I mean, at least I could just take the 8 off, and then the 0 would be there. Oh,
But
all
yeah,
right.
all those. I mean, let's be honest. We have 3 young rookies that are showing promise. Leggett, I hope to see something a little bit more when Thielen gets back. That way, the pressure's off you a
Mhm.
little bit.
Yep.
Coker again can't sing your praises as more.
Yep.
Jatavion Sanders, you look real. I mean,
Really real.
best tight end
Yep.
play receiving wise we've had since Greg Olson. That's not even a question in either one of our
Yeah.
minds.
Yeah. It's unfortunate he's going to be compared with Brock Bowers in his draft
Oh
class,
yeah,
but just a different. That's a whole different league. But this Sanders could easily be a 700-800 yard receiver, next year, right?
Yeah.
He could easily get there. So yeah, his development's going to be fun to watch.
All right. I think that's going to do it for the awards. Now we're just going to peek ahead at the rest of the schedule and kind of discuss what we're expecting from the season.
Yeah.
After the bye, we get to blow out the Kansas City Chiefs.
In Kansas City.
It
No,
says,
here. Actually,
yeah,
it's here. It's
it's
here. It's
here.
here. It's here. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. This is going to be one of those fun games. I mean, we kind of talked about it, right? The Carolina Reaper. If the Panthers can shock the world and somehow take down an undefeated Chiefs, or even a Chiefs team that only has one loss if they lose this week, that's gonna feel different.
Elation?
That's gonna be a feeling I haven't felt in a very, very long time.
Eject.
Uh, yeah, it really will, but that will kind of ratchet up that hope level, right? I mean, that kind of even puts you in play this year in a very, very outside chance.
In all honesty, it would be fun to get that
Yeah,
sneak game against Kansas City. It probably won't happen, but
it won't.
they're a
It
good
won't.
measuring stick as long as you can look decent doing it. I mean, like losing not 40-6.
Yeah, I mean, you look for Bryce to be good in that game.
Yeah.
I think that's
It-
yeah,
you look for the defense to show some some fight.
yeah, yeah. And, and the Chiefs are, I mean, they're obviously great, and I don't know that they're the best team in the NFL, but they're one of them, right? So, but they're not. They don't seem to be invincible on the any given Sunday type of thing. The Panthers. I think it's in there somewhere, but we'll see.
You're right. Any given Sunday, but
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
I'm trying to
Well, we
be
got
realistic. Now,
yeah.
then we
Got the
go.
Bucks after that.
Bucks come here after that, and that I
Yep.
think is a very interesting game for the Panthers, depending on
Mm-hmm.
where they're sitting at, what Tampa Bay is doing, because Tampa Bay's up and down.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
don't trust them. I don't know.
And those games are always close.
Yeah,
Seems like they're always close. And that's another dang 4 o'clock game. It's the fourth 4 o'clock game. I don't like that.
I hate the 4 o'clock games.
Yeah.
Then they travel to Philadelphia to fight the push tush. They probably
Yeah.
wouldn't even have to do that against our run defense, but whatever.
Probably not. But if they wanted to, they could do that the whole game.
Then we could
I don't think we
hit
can
the
stop it.
Carolina Reaper against Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys. How great would it be to have us beat Dallas
Yeah.
and then have Mike McCarthy fired on the tarmac?
That's the time coaches get fired, right? Like
Oh yeah.
4 or 5 weeks before the season ends. You know, owners want to get ahead of the process, but that would be great. I mean, that's gonna be a fun game. Always a game that is in high demand when it's here, right? The Cowboys. So it'll
Tickets
be fun.
are as low as $74 according to ESPN.
Wow,
The cheapest
that's
or the most
wow.
expensive home game we have left? Kansas City at 124.
Mm. Well,
All right.
as we get closer to that Cowboys game, those prices will go up. So get them now.
Not really. Since they're so bad, their delusion's wearing off the Cowboys fans.
I bet you could still make a little money on it.
I'm
But either
sure.
way,
Yeah.
either
Uh,
way. Yeah.
Then Arizona comes here. Arizona is a very good team, I think.
Yeah.
So be careful.
Yep.
Then we go to Tampa Bay and then Atlanta. Those last two, I mean, Atlanta's going to be tough. Tampa Bay could be tough, but I also think they're beatable. I think both of those are beatable.
Yeah. Well, could be sitting their starters too. They could have the division locked up
And that's
by that
yeah,
time. So
that's something I didn't even think about. But yes, what is our? I'm trying to
yeah.
think of their how far ahead in the division are they?
They're not. I think they're 6-4 and Tampa's 4-6 or 4-7. So a couple games up.
Yeah, give me 1 second to put this up. They are 6-4 and 4-6.
Yeah.
So games.
2 games up. And that was Tampa. So yeah, I mean that it could come down to the division, I guess, but could come down to the last game. We'll see. But yeah, so I don't know. I see one or two more wins realistically.
Same.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay,
I hope for two.
Cowboys, Atlanta. I mean,
Yeah.
those are winnable. I would even say Cardinals are winnable, but it really depends on if Kyler's playing and everything else
Yeah.
because you never know how that's going to pan out.
I mean,
But
the Eagles are beatable. The Eagles aren't a great team.
no, any given
Uh,
Sunday, but you're also
but
playing in
what they do,
Philly.
yeah, and what they do is difficult for the Panthers to defend.
Yeah, they're just going to push us around on
Yeah.
the O
Yeah.
line.
So yeah, two more wins. I'm gonna say.
Hey, I
So
mean,
that gives us 5 on the season.
yeah, that's kind of. I mean, I think I went 6-7.
Yeah,
So
that's around where we thought. But you get another a surprise win in there, then maybe you make it to 6.
and the big thing is just showing progress.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep seeing 40 points put on this defense every week. That's just no.
Yeah. 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 And I mean the big thing is let's see Bryce improve. Let's see Bryce get to the end of the season here, being a guy that you can say, all right, that's our starting quarterback next year, and I feel really good about that.
Yeah, that's a dream. And you see Leggett, Coker, and Sanders continue to
Yeah.
blossom like they have the past 3 or 4 weeks. It felt like they both
Yeah.
all have kind of really started growing into starting roles.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I think you got to say, Dan Morgan's trades of getting rid of those guys they got rid of have just given the other guys more opportunity, and they're rising to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, seems like a W. All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it.
All right, we want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. If you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on the show. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. And also check out our new shop.
Merch.
Merch.
We got merch. Yeah. Well, we'll be back, I guess, midweek next week.
Unless something happens.
Take the weekend off. Yeah. Unless there's breaking news or something. But yeah, likely will not be an episode. Excuse me. This weekend. So until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.
I got the black lung, Paul.